All right, with no further ado, Rishi Kumar.
All right. I'm going to talk to you guys about the future of Meteor. So Meteor's been growing a lot in the past 2 years. It's gotten really far. It got $20 million in funding recently. And so right now they're at version 1.1, and 1.2 is going to be a pretty big milestone. They have a lot of stuff coming. So they have things like ES6 support for ECMAScript 2015, which is what it's officially called now. So what that means is in the future, you'll be able to actually do a lot of load order control and module order in your Meteor applications, which is kind of tough to do right now. Like that's identified as one of the bigger problems. Also, writing in ES6 is really nice. It gives a lot more structure to your JavaScript. It makes it easier to integrate, like, or go from one place to another and bring code over. Another thing is official React integration. React is super popular. Who here has used it? Yeah, so a lot of hands came up. So right now with React, the problem I see is that Flux is a pain. Like having a backend architecture with React just like is difficult to set up and not the greatest thing for startups. And so Meteor actually acts as a really great alternative to it. So you have like this entire backend that does almost the same thing as Flux, except in a different way. So it's essentially that real-time backend that you want with Meteor. Like it's in my opinion, it's better to use it with React. That way you can get a component structure with the way React is structured, and then you have this real-time backend that's pretty easy to use. So you don't have to do so much setup with the architecture, think about how data is going to flow, like it's all handled for you. Another big thing that, also one thing to mention, their React integration is almost ready. Like I think they're going to release it pretty soon. They've already released a preview of it, which you can actually just use it from the package system. But they're still working out the kinks with it. And then there is official Angular integration. They actually hired the person who made it, Yuri. It's really good. I haven't used it myself, but I have looked at the documentation, and it seems like really easy to port over an Angular app to be working on Meteor rather than a RESTful API. So this one I think is really important. Out of these four, I like this one the most. A faster and more flexible build pipeline. So right now, you can build plugins like through packages, but it's not the easiest thing to manage, and it's not very flexible. And so Meteor is actually working really hard to make it so you can customize how the build pipeline is going through, what order it does things, and and it's also much faster. Like they've added like a bunch of caching and lots of stuff. Like the branch for that alone is like 180 commits ahead of what's on there right now. So there's been a lot of work put into it. And I think that's the biggest thing holding them from Meteor 1.2, but it's definitely going to help improve it. And so now I'm going to talk to you guys about what's going to be beyond Meteor 1.2. So Meteor 1.2 is probably going to release end of summer is my guess. They mentioned something about that in the blog post. But beyond that, it's going to be much easier for bigger corporations to use Meteor in their workplace in the future. So the first thing, REST and microservices. So right now, let's say you have some sort of backend already built out with a RESTful API that you're using with whatever front end you want. But you want to make it real time. It can be a pain to like integrate WebSockets with it and do all that. Rather than that, you can actually just take a Meteor stack and communicate with that RESTful API, so you don't have to rebuild your backend. But you just create a different way for your RESTful data to become reactive by giving it to another server, essentially. It's actually really interesting, and I think that's a good approach to take, especially if you're trying to convert over. You can slowly convert your backend later. And so that allows for also microservices in the background. Like you don't have to rely on everything Meteor has. You can actually have other stuff going on and then have the data go through. So it's really interesting thing to think about, and it's good for larger corporations. And like as Meteor grows, I think that would be a really great thing to have. And actually, it was today, Sashko released a little example where he is grabbing data from a RESTful API, publishing it directly on the Meteor server, and then having clients subscribe to it. It's a really small snippet of code, but it's actually really useful. And then the next thing, everyone is waiting for this, official SQL support. Like right now, you can use Mongo. There's a Redis integration, and then the other React database that I can't think of right now.
Rethink?
Rethink, that's it. And then Rethink DB integration, but none of those are SQL. But
Sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
Does it say which SQL? Is it like Postgres or MySQL?
No, so I've actually talked to a few core developers about this. SQL support is really tricky. So right now, like with JSON type databases, it's pretty simple to just import data, and like there's not much structure to it. So the problem is when you're trying to create this mini SQL instances, how do you handle all the joins, all the transactional data across client and server? That becomes a huge issue, and they want to handle it in a way that's modular. So because there's a ton of SQL databases, and they don't want to just build it for one. It's better if you build a general like adapter. That way you can add your own different modules on top of it, essentially, for each database. So you have one general thing, and then go on from that. And SQL support, I think, will like actually blow Meteor up, because that's one thing that everyone's waiting for. So this next one, for those of you that have been using Meteor for a while, it's really nice. So routing is going to be officially in core. That means there's one routing system, not two different ones to use right now.
Which one will be in core?
All right.
Iron or React router?
Flow router.
Flow.
My bet is on Flow, because it's minimal, it's modular. You can send almost any layout engine into it. Whereas Iron Router is tied to, it's pretty tied to Blaze, and it's got a lot of junk that you don't really need. Like you don't need a bunch of reactivity in your router that Iron Router adds. But I mean, it's nice to have for some applications, but for most, it's not needed. This next one, opinionated structure. So I guarantee everyone here has their Meteor app structured in a different way.
Mine's the best.
So the only thing that's similar is you have the client folder, the server folder, maybe a lib or both, whatever you call it. And then, but within that, it's all scattered. It's whatever works for your team, essentially. But Meteor actually, MDG has thoughts on how you should structure it, which I think is a really good thing. Like that's one thing that Rails did really well. You had one way to do it. That way, if you went to another Rails app, you could easily see the structure. And so I think they're trying to go towards a little bit like that, but not completely opinionated. The opinionation is like more optional, if anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. So if you want it to be opinionated, it can be. But if you want your own structure for your team, you guys like to do it this way, you can also do that as well. You're not tied to one way of doing it. There we go. Nice. Oh, man. Okay. So the next thing is Velocity is going to be moved into core. So Velocity is the official testing framework for Meteor right now, for those of you that don't know. And it used to have a lot of bugs with it, but they've been really good at like improving it and stabilizing it. And I think this is a really great decision that Meteor's doing. Like you need the official testing framework to be literally official, not handled by members of the community who are working at other places. Like it should be handled by core. And so this change is going to make it really nice for just about anyone who wants their application to be tested well and know it's stable at all times. So, and then the last one, 2015 modules. I talked about that a little bit earlier. It allows for better namespacing, and that's a really big thing because that way, when we're namespacing our packages with like ES 2015 modules, they'll be super easy to import, explicitly use in like X place, and make it much easier to, I guess, structure your application. All right, so that's all I got for the future of Meteor. So subscribe to my weekly newsletter, This Week in Meteor. I go in depth, like I'm sure people can vouch for that. You can follow me on Twitter. Feel free to contact me on Telescope Slack. I'm on there. I have Slack on my phone. I'll answer pretty quickly. And if you want 20% off Discover Meteor, I have a coupon code, just /RGrumar, and you can get 20% off of it. I don't get anything from it. I just have to All right, any questions?
Cool. Can you go back to the first slide? Maybe we can just kind of like let people ask questions on each slide. The build pipeline I had a question on. So is that how like you could integrate something like linting? Because I've not been sure how to do linting.
Yeah.
Is it like?
So actually, I think they're directly integrating ESLint.
Oh, okay.
So they're just going to stick it in there and be like, here's linting by default.
Okay.
Because the commits I was going through, there was a lot of ESLint stuff. So
Okay.
I'm assuming it's getting built in, and because it would be nice to have linting all the time.
Yeah.
Any other questions about, I guess, these things?
Oh, and Flux, is that for Facebook Flux? Is that something you run locally, or is that you connecting to Facebook's cloud?
So Flux is an idea.
Well,
It's not. Flux is an architecture that you can build out. There's like, I think, hundreds of different Flux implementations now. So you can run it locally. I don't think anyone's made like some cloud service for it. Not that I know of. I don't know if anyone else does. But it's just how a lot of full stack JavaScript developers who are using React structure it.
oh, okay.
It's like a nice way to like set up data flow.
Yeah, and I saw that there was a comparison between like the Meteor native components and Flux, and there was a one-to-one correspondence of like optimistic updates on the client. You know, the client updates right away, it sends something to the background, and I don't know Flux, but
I think it was Sashko that talked about that.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
On the subject of React integration, React, of course, has the React router.
Yeah.
Now, with the React going native, in terms of just a part of the core, that'll open up the door for the React router, which is based on Ember's router.
Yeah.
Which is supposedly an industrial strength routing server side and client side. So in terms of where do you see popularity going, I think, in terms of it's going to be Angular dominant for Meteor, or it's going to be React? And where is Blaze going to fit in? Is Blaze going to drop down and become less relevant, or Angular for you?
All right. So personally, I like Blaze a lot. It's simple. The only problem with it is there's no like easy to use component system, which is what makes React really powerful. In terms of popularity, I think the people using Angular right now are not going to leave Angular because the Angular code you build is going to be hard to port over because it's pretty opinionated.
Oh, but they'll stick with Angular, but Angular with the Meteor's loving embrace.
Yes, exactly. And then React, I think, is really appealing to new developers and new businesses. It's also really good for companies that are thinking about just completely rewriting. Like, I see React getting more popular. That's just what I think based on like the way it's structured, API use, speed. Right?
What about supposed scalability issues of Meteor? Are there somebody out there showing 10,000 users simultaneously logged in and handling a load?
I don't know if they're like showing it publicly, but there are companies that have been handling like quite a large load. I previously worked at Differential, and we had a mobile app that was actually a hybrid app that ended up scaling to about 40,000 users, like in like a matter of days. And that all we had to do was like up a couple of servers.
It was the ship that sailed.
Yep, that was it.
That one was.
Yeah, Brave.
Brave.
There's also other companies like Classcraft. I know they're a popular one because they, I don't know if they released it publicly, but they scaled to like a couple thousand users concurrently. So I don't think scaling is an issue with Meteor. It's really just how you build your application.
Yeah. 10,000 is interesting you chose that number because that's the level that just in my research that I thought like would be comfortably handleable, 10,000. And then I looked at like my company's usage logs, and we have a lot of, my old company, a lot of retailers, and so like Black Friday, a lot of people were leaving, messages, and even on Black Friday we were seeing like no more than 20 per second, and we extrapolated that out and figured 10,000, simultaneous would, for the kinds of interactions we were having, be sufficient. And yeah, that's the thing about performance is you really need to profile, like if it's 10,000 users, how much are they doing, each user, and how long are their interactions? So it's hard to say.
On the topic of integration, that you mentioned React, Angular, I heard that at some point Meteor is going to do something called, it's going to integrate with NPM packages a lot better through plugin that register compiler. Do you know if that's coming in 1.2 or is it further down?
I don't know when that's coming. My guess is probably 1.2. It might have to do with like the build pipeline. Okay. But I know right now you could use NPM. There's packages out there that make it easy. But I know they're definitely trying to improve that, especially with like React stuff, because there's a lot of packages on NPM for React, so they want to make it easy to handle that. I don't know when it's coming though.
Also, Meteor is selling commercial support now, aren't they?
Yes.
So that's a good sign for maturity.
They recently acquired Percolate Studios and now offer commercial support.
Has there been any talk of how they're going to handle Atmosphere? Is it going to be completely reset up under Meteor, or is it still going to live off in this weird little thing?
I haven't heard anything. I'm assuming they're going to make changes on it, but I don't know. Yeah.
Do you know what version of Angular Meteor is going to integrate with in 1.2?
Well, Angular support is actually like a whole separate thing. It's its own package, so it doesn't rely on what version Meteor's on. The Angular support, it supports the latest version of Angular right now, and the person working on it is actually also integrating it with 2.0. So there should be no problem with using 2.0 once it comes out, once it's 1.0.
Might be a little bit of a more basic question, but what's the benefit of integration with Angular or React?
The benefit is they make it easy for you to type the data in. Like usually, because this works off of PubSub and not RESTful APIs, it's a little more difficult to like hook something like Angular in. You would have to do a lot more work, and it gets hacky if you don't have some sort of integration that's already set up to do it for you. And so that's why they're doing this, so that you're not necessarily tied to Blaze like it has been in the past. You can actually use existing frameworks. And the integration just makes it much, much easier to deal with data overall. Yes?
Can you mix, are we going to be able to mix Blaze, Angular, and React in the same level?
I'm not sure about using both React and Angular integration. I know Blaze and React go hand in hand. They built it that way. Angular and React, I'm not sure because I haven't personally used the integration, but I'm sure it's possible. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be, but I don't know about React and Angular. That's a tricky one.
How about React and Blaze?
React and Blaze work hand in hand right now. Yeah.
Is there any support for offline apps?
Yes, and that's through the the data synchronization. So they actually have, because they have a database on the client, it's essentially a cache, and you can actually do operations on it because it is a database. That way you can actually have offline apps, and then once it's back online, it'll sync over WebSockets. And I believe they've built some logic around handling collisions, like data collisions and things like that.
For a cheap, quick and easy solution, I've used the Session Amplify package. Amplify.js is like a generic JavaScript library that can put things in local storage on the device. Are you talking about a web app?
Yeah, you can do it on.
Yeah, so if it's a web app or a hybrid app that has access to local storage, Session Amplify is a quick way of doing it that I've done. It's not the same as taking all the collections and storing them natively, but like I said, it's an app.
You may have gotten this recently, but when you were talking to a few members of the core and BG, did you get any hint as to like the timeline of Galaxy? Like,
Nope.
No.
That is one thing they will not talk about. I've tried.
It's coming early.
It's coming. Like they've got a lot of people working on it.
That's their
That's
cloud
for sure.
solution?
Huh?
Galaxy is their cloud solution?
Yeah, that's their cloud hosting solution.
But don't get your hopes up too high. Version 1 seems like it's going to be pretty basic.
Yeah, version 2 is what I'm excited for.
Yeah.
I forgot when they released how that's going to look, but it was in some Galaxy blog post if you guys are interested. They released like what it's going to be structured as. Yes.
So you mentioned microservices. How's that going to work out? So you're going to have your authentication on one side, and like the database and other. Are you going to separate them, and how are you going to go about this thing?
So that's how I would see it, but I don't really know because I haven't done it yet. So it's kind of hard to say. Not a lot of people have done that like microservice architecture with Meteor, but I know that MDG definitely wants to make it like easy to do that. I don't know what their plans are for that completely. I just know really much about the RESTful API integration and trying to make that as easy as possible to go with an existing backend.
If you're willing to spend a little bit of money, Aeronota, Bulletproof Meteor, like I think it's $80, the Guru edition. But he walks through multiple chapters as I know microservices right now.
So are you going to have like separate instances of Meteor and have an authentication around your line?
Yep.
Something else, right?
Yeah.
Oh, on that note, he actually released a blog post about doing shared login state in Meteor.
Alright.
Yeah. So, anything on this before we go on?
No.
Man, Aeronota is like tied to a lot of the things that they're doing. I
Yeah.
wonder
If he's going to get hired or something.
And Velocity's getting integrated.
Yeah.
I should become really good friends with these guys.
Any questions on any of this stuff here?
For the opinionated structure stuff, is it just going to be like a suggestion? Like they're going to say,
I'm not too sure about that. I'm assuming they're going to release some sort of blog post on it to show some structure. And then what would be really nice is to have some command line tool to like generate certain parts of your application. But I don't know if they'll do that.
So the structures there is a little bit of opinion in the structure already in here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Is this going to, go beyond that, or is it going to be sort of more of the same? If you name it, directories this, and then this location, and then you get this back. So how extensive is this going to be?
I honestly have no idea. This is opinionated structure is one thing I haven't gotten too much detail about. So
So I've been following Meteor's travel board for a while.
Mhm.
I don't follow it in too much detail because people think talk too fucking much. But from what you've seen and people you've been talking to, like how closely do they follow that? When people are like, voting and talking and giving these comments about the next thing they want. How closely does NDG follow, I guess, what they hear from the community? In general, of course.
He's on camera.
I mean, that's really varied. Like, there are certain things that they can do right away, but it's more about, I guess, the people who are like higher up at MDG, like Matt DeBergulis, people like them, and they have to figure out the best way to release Meteor in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's better to release the smaller features out so you can get a little more people in, for sure, before releasing like these giant ones that will take a lot of time. I guess.
Okay.
And personally, I think like stuff like the build pipeline is, to me, it's more important than SQL support, because in terms of a database, if there's an adapter out there, even if it's a community adapter, like I'll use that. But the build process itself is something MDG has. We have no control over that. So that's something that I think would be like more important in terms of like priority. Anyone else? Yes.
What does streamlining mean on velocity?
Essentially making it easy to run. Like it'll probably be, rather than having to add Meteor add velocity, it'll just be like Meteor tester, which it kind of is right now, but there's stuff missing and things that can be improved with it. Like they'll probably make it much easier to actually set this up and get going right away.
Is there gonna be like one testing framework that they use by default or recommend by default?
I'm not sure about that, but of course they can recommend one. I don't think it would be good to just say you can only use this one.
So support all the frameworks that Velocity currently supports.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're not going to take any of those away. That would make sense.
And since they love tiny tests, and I like tiny tests too, and since Velocity just pretended like tiny tests didn't exist, hopefully those things will integrate.
Yeah, because tiny test is something MDG uses all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming it will.
It's an odd thing if you're used to Mocha and everything, but it does its job really, really well. And Velocity has, I've gotten some very good help, from the community. Sam has gotten online and paired with me to like investigate things, but it can take an indeterminate amount of time to come up with an answer. Like sometimes as much as 5 seconds, sometimes closer to 2, or sometimes instantaneously. And that's just, felt like there's a bit much going on in there. And tiny test is just like always the same amount of small amount of time. It just has fewer moving parts. So I like the streamlining aspect of this.
Yes.
I was going to ask how much of ES6 is going to be supported?
I actually think they're trying to support as much as Babel does.
Okay.
Because Babel is essentially the de facto ES6 transpiler. And whatever they can support is like the best we'll get at this point.
So are you going to integrate Babel with Meteor?
Yes. Yeah. I saw official like packages being developed for that. Yeah.
And it's interesting because there's different levels of client and server support for depending on the ES6 feature. Like I'm thinking you might have just encountered something like that I encountered last week, where it's like the computed object literal keys like are just not supported in any server implementation right now, not even IOJS.
Yeah. And
And since Meteor has to go both ways, it's like which features are going to be in and which features are going to be out. Yeah, it's a good question. Rishi?
I don't know the answer.
You don't know everything, Rishi?
Not everything.
Well, thank you very much, Rishi. Any other questions for him?
Awesome.
Awesome. Looks like we got Mr. Ben Straighthand stepping up next.
Yo. Time to bring this meeting down.
No, you're too long.
I don't know. You're gonna start working with me, and then and you're really gonna find out what I get myself into. Yeah, that looks awesome. You get 0 points for the projectors. Ashton, what's up, bro? Haven't been able to say hi to you yet, man. Oh,
You were in the
Yo.
conversation.
Yo.
Talking about something.
Yo, is it someone's birthday today?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
How old are you, old man?
31.
31? Shoot, I'm older than you.
Are we gonna sing the song?
That was.
You got to say if you want to.
Okay.
I was thinking it was going to be that.
Yeah.
How about Dean would actually?
You know why I popped up? It's my younger brother's birthday.
All right.
Yeah.
How's he?
So, shoot, man, come on, I'm on camera. You gonna ask me that?
What a great.
I think that's 29.
Birthday.
Just got married. Was able to go out to San Diego with my wife a couple weeks ago. It was awesome. San Diego is like an awesome place. Gosh, I don't know why I live in Chicago, honestly. I'm really gonna be kicking myself in the butt this winter.
It's like 73 and sunny every day. Never rains every single day. Yeah, I don't know.
That drought is tough on you. So. The drought.
I could do it.
Well, California for sure.
Yeah, the drinking water is a plus in Chicago.
You know what the plus is? The river. That's the plus. Ship all our food down to St. Louis.
They reversed the river just to do that.
I know.
Yeah.
I was in geotechnical engineering field before this, and one of the large projects we worked on was turning an old quarry into a big sewer bathtub, so they could start taking it out of the river and cleaning the river up and all that stuff. So don't buy anything. Don't buy any real estate by. Shoot. No, I don't know now anymore. I forgot the town. So it's just before you get into Indiana, 94. What's down there? Anyway, it's like a couple miles from the border. You're going over 94. Anyway, that whole place is going to have a massive cesspool, and all the real estate's just going to
The low property values.
yes.
I don't think the real estate's good there right now.
Well, just imagine if even if you blew 80 grand on a house, you just literally blew 80 grand. Oh, you know what? Oh, you know what? It is.
Oh, it's not mirrored.
Yes.
Okay.
Right on.
Is everyone familiar with the Meteor podcasts that exist? I think there's 2 or 3 of them now.
Awesome. Yeah, so Dean's on a podcast, right? Is it official or not?
Well, there's the Josh Meteor podcast.
Yeah.
There's a Meteor Club podcast,
right.
and then Meteor Interviews.
Meteor Interviews, yeah.
By
and we're tied to all of them, right? Somehow.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Dean and I work for OK Grow. Paul Dowman is the owner of OK Grow in Toronto, and he is the host of Meteor Interviews. So it's pretty cool. Dean is number 2 co-host of Meteor Podcast. So super cool. And then I show up every once in a while and I do Meteor Club Podcast. And so those are really fun. So everyone get on iTunes and get our podcast going. I at least want to see how many people are here? I want to see the numbers jump by that much. So, all right, so they hired me at OK Grow, and I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. And then one of the first jobs that they gave me was they're like, hey, MDG is our client. And so, like, Ben, you get to work with them. I was like, no way. What kind of silly person decided to do that? But so this is Meteor.com, and when they were expanding with their recent addition of a marketing team, the marketing team wanted to have like an easier way to edit this website, and it's all built in Meteor, obviously. And the marketing guys and the business dev guys aren't necessarily developers, but ironically, like the head is a little bit, like he has a history of it. So he's like, yo, if you just give me like something where I can like pass JSON object to it, and it'll like make pages and routes and SEO, like go ahead and do it. And so like, all right, so we scratched our head and we made something for them, and they actually love it so much that like we haven't been hired by them for a while. Now they're like making their own pages and stuff.
You put yourself out of business.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so everything's built in Meteor on Meteor.com, but they wanted something that easily would create navigation, would create routes, and would create search engine optimization tags for it, and all of it, like, you know, not refreshing the whole site, just what you're used to from a Meteor website. So this is like an example of what we built for them, and the side navigation, everything's built automatically. There's like 3 tiers of navigation that you can do, and all these buttons, and all this stuff is like automatic for them. And that was like all well and good. Oh my gosh, that was horrible.
Yeah, the resolution is a bit janky. It's, yeah.
Everyone's like all quiet now. I don't know why. Dude, what you did was like, it looks horrible.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Ooh. Cool. Holy cow, they need a high resolution projector. Anyway, so finally I got around to it. I was like, man, I should make this like a package, because like everyone's talking about like SEO and how to get it right and all that. And most of the time, the sites that you want to have like the best search engine optimization for is like your static sites. Like usually like your reactive stuff typically is going to be like more dashboard stuff, more behind like a user account. So you don't want to have like search engine optimization for that kind of things. So this is like a real rough draft of a package that's coming out. That's going to be called OK Grow Pages. And it's kind of based off of this. And I originally was going to talk about React Native, and that like totally blew up in my face. So this is, I'm just going to like pull this up out of the blue and see if we can like demo this a little bit for like 2 minutes. But cool, awesome. So this is like the object that we're passing, and the cool thing is like the keys will be available on all the templates, so you can like add custom keys to it and all that stuff, and it'll be available to you. But these basic ones, it like will get you going, and you can name it whatever you want. You can have multiple ones of these throughout your app, and you pass in a group. And you have the route to path, redirect route, grab the templates that you want, or you could bypass templates and just pass content right into it, and it will render. And you can see like there's a structure here of sub-objects. And so blah, 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 that's cool. But the cool thing is like in the router, like I have like 7 pages on this little basic thing I'm gonna show you. And all of that is created with that, all the routes. And also the search engine optimization. Also in the config, like you can pass in default SEO. So like if you don't pass any SEO to your page, it will like grab that stuff as well. So that's pretty much it. You pass the object, you pass this create routes, in there, and a little after action pages to SEO. And you are rocking it. So let's look here. This is like super basic, but this is the home page. You get some really neat templates. So right here, I just did, so you get a navigation partial. And so pages, sidebar, and then I have a little helper that's grabbing that object. And that's just like made for you right there. And then you navigate and the URL changes, the content changes. You got a little fun stuff. I don't have any bootstrapping here, or I don't have any styling really, but anyway, you get the point. On this one, I made it another template. So this one didn't pass content. Let's see here, this is the last one. So all these are passing content in. You can also pass in a template name. And so I made this like little thing, cool template, put in some stuff. And so like, there you go right there. So you can essentially make a template and like make it reactive if you want. But initially what is getting passed through will be SEO friendly and everything. And the big thing is like, this is like this isn't coming from a database. So it gets passed down with the whole app when someone renders your page. So it's right there. So that's why it's SEO friendly. It supports Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and regular search engines out of that. So everything's configurable. And this is like a really early prototype of what's coming out. I'm going to have some demos, multi-level templates, passing markdown, and then just like a basic one.
And is this
What
what's
does the create routes function look like?
What's that?
What does the create routes function look like?
The magic. The magic. Let's get into the magic here. Bum, bum, bum.
and is this live on Meteor.com now?
Yeah, that's what's powering Meteor.com. This
Wow.
like this, sort of like this. So it's not exactly this, but yeah. So here's like create routes function, and you pass in the content, and basically it's just, and you guys like I'm really looking forward to when I make it public. People can like tell me how horrible I am, but you're just like running through it, and as you're doing it, you're calling this router map with Iron Router, and it's mapping stuff out for you. Right then and there. So it creates your routes on the fly, creates your templates and your pages. So, and then once that's done, everything gets ran through an SEO function, which is actually separate as well. So someone could like kind of break it out. And this is just the set SEO right here. And it's pretty interesting. It like runs through and makes sure to remove elements that that aren't needed anymore when you change your route, rather than just appending more crap to your head. But, yeah. Anyway, when I release it, you guys can dig through it. But my React Native demo went to crap, so this would be a good alternative. Anyway, any questions? Rishi.
Is it tied to Iron Router?
It is. And I was thinking I probably should just like not have it be that way before I release it. Maybe you guys could tell me. Should I just release it tied to Iron Router, or should I like make it flexible flow, or yeah, flow router? Anyone care? Like, I wonder what kind of market share flow router has.
None.
Well,
Very little.
I don't know. Like, I would say like
Go Iron Router.
Does anybody use Flow in here?
a better question is
Ever heard of
Like,
Yeah.
I use Flow.
a better question is what percentage of the new Meteor apps being made? Because now you have the choice. Like, there's a bunch of legacy stuff probably that you didn't have a choice then, but yeah, I don't know. So you say yeah, don't release it yet until it's agnostic.
I think just release it now, add support later.
Cool, I'll do that then. That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, right on. All right, guys.
Cool.
Thank you. Right on. Does anyone else have anything cool that they're working on that they want to
Just want to share your
show
thoughts
off?
from your seat or whatever. Anything interesting? I'll talk about my experience of taking a chess application that I've like shown here, and I tried to implement it in Rails. So it was 35 lines of CoffeeScript in Meteor, and it was like allow two people to like play back and forth. And I still knew Rails, but I didn't know Rails 4.0. So I thought, I'll just get a basic non-reactive version of this chess app up in Rails, and then I'll look at how to add reactivity and WebSockets later. Like that should be possible. Seemed like a good idea at the time, and 3 hours into the night, I realized, man, you know what sucks? Like picking apart HTTP, how many T's was it? HTTP params and making objects out of that. Like, why can't I just post the same object from the client to the server? Like, this feels like boring work. And then, you know what else sucks? Trying to figure out how to store an object in a Postgres database. Is it going to be a serialized string representation of it? If so, what happens if it exceeds the maximum column length of the column? And so the insight was just that, like, marshalling, right? So when you have this, which is like also called serializing and just converting formats, like that's what I was spending my time doing in this Rails app, was getting it from params that were posted, with an AJAX call into an object, from an object into a database, and then vice versa. And I was like, that is the value proposition of Meteor. At least one of the strongest ones is that same object kind of keeps its shape the whole way up and down the stack, right? So if somebody moves the chessboard and you just have a representation of that board, just grab it, chuck it into another document of a collection. And so I was like, yep, I am still convinced that, like, and that was before I even got to the reactivity part of it, which the tutorials that I looked for said two things. Live connections are coming soon in Rails. Don't hold your breath. And also the tutorial that looked really well thought out that showed how to do it. It actually used Postgres's notification system combined with WebSocket. So it was very indirect. It was like, tell the database layer that things have changed, and then the database layer will tell other clients, and it was very circuitous. You also had to choose a different web server. You couldn't run it on WebBrick or Unicorn. You had to use Puma. And I'm like, to heck with all these decisions, like, at least, just when I'm getting a prototype off the ground. So, yay, I'm glad to be still wearing the shirt. Not going back to Rails. Nope.
I actually got something, just got an email. Jeff Smith, I don't know how to say his last name, the CEO of MDG is actually going to be talking at the next Dev Shop, that's San Francisco Dev Shop, JavaScript State of the Union. So it'll cover like Meteor's mission in today's JavaScript environment. So that'll be really cool. And then Ben Newman, the core developer that's been like super involved with the S6, like he's been communicating with the board and actually helping out with the specification. And he's going to be talking about that. He's going to be talking about ES6 in the next Dev Shop. So it's something to look out for.
Is that August reach or is that July Dev Shop? Has it happened yet? July?
No, it hasn't happened yet. It's usually at the end of the month.
So it's going to be in July.
Yeah.
Cool. How are people getting connected to Meteor resources, or are there any Meteor resources that you would like to have other than this awesome meetup? But offline between the meetups, would people like online hangouts between this meetup, between these Chicago meetups? I know we're like on this once a month schedule, but would it be helpful if there was a place we could kind of meet up online?
Keep the Slack going.
keep the Slack chat. Yeah, we have the Slack chat room. Anybody who is not in the Meteor Chicago Slack chat room, I'll get your address.
We can get them signed up.
Yep. All right, I got your address.
Last spam, everybody, the Slack
Let's do it.
invitation.
Who doesn't want to be on our awesome Slack? There you go.
Silence is consent.
Yes.
I will add all of you tonight. And if you don't want to be on there, just opt out. We don't mind.
That's right. Who is using Meteor more than just a hobby?
Now or previously?
You don't count. You're out of here now. Very cool.
All right, can we say a little thing about our Meteor things?
Oh, sure. We're actually building built an application that is a Kanban. We built that in reactive. The development cycle was really quick with Meteor. We were kind of surprised how quickly that went. Our estimate was about 8 months. That's kind of it. So it's out there. If you guys want to check it out, it's you go to it's a great commercial, right?
Yeah.
Everyone should try it. Canvans.com. You go on there. You need a box account because we run on top of Box. Box is the authentication system for us. You keep your documents, everything. You can go check it out. And so basically, what it is, it has a bunch of things in it. It has a get shit done system, GTD system. So get things done system built. It's got calendaring and it's got a board. It's got everything you kind of need to.
Is it Kanbans?
Yes, Canvans.
Really?
That's us.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Any picture of it?
Wow. Cool.
So, because what we see is we have if you think of a large company, right? Normally they have a bunch of systems in place for doing things like Agile or Scrum or something. And so what happens with those systems, you usually have spreadsheets that are going around that system. So we're trying to replace those spreadsheets, obviously, with the Kanban. And then for smaller companies, we want them to implement their processes on the board itself.
And when did you release this? Just recently?
Just recently. So we're still, if you're on the website, you'll still notice that it says we're private beta sometimes, but we're actually, for the last about 2 or 3 months, we've had customers on it. It's working really well. Our uptime's really great. If you want to try it, it's definitely production ready.
Cool.
Nice.
And so 8 months you've been in Meteor, and you've only come to this meetup today. You've been getting stuff out.
Now with that hazy.
No.
I'm not really focused on the business side.
Oh, okay. No, I think it's great that you've been able to do that.
No, it was
Love to learn from you.
I don't know. Our hardest thing was going through the whole scaling piece and security piece. That was the 2 pieces that we struggled with. Security, because there's not really a good security guidelines out there for us. We had to kind of invent our own. Actually, stole the ones from Box and use those. So found those people. That gives you they have a really great guideline step by step for it. The other thing was we had to do a lot of work on scaling too. So we proved to ourselves that we could get to 10,000. So that was a lot of work put into that.
Yeah.
Meteor passed, at least for what we could tell. For scaling.
Because people are on this all day, right? Managing their teams and updating them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So people have a browser up. So if you have 10,000 people using your system, you expect it to be 10,000 browsers.
Yeah.
Log in the system continuously. So that's a lot of work for Siri to do.
Is the same Meteor instance handling all the clients, or do you kind of stand up a different, instance for each client?
Everyone's on.
Okay.
So it's one big cloud app. Because what we need to do is you need to be able to log in with different IDs and obviously share. There's no compartmentalization. Any ID you can share with anyone. So it's all on that.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
What do you guys mean? So 10 months ago, I started writing an app for, I created a company and started writing an app using Meteor to build a platform for type 2 diabetics to change their habits. And it's a long, crazy road. but I chose Meteor. One of the big reasons was I chose it so that I could deploy once on multiple, or write once and deploy to multiple different platforms. That took a little bit of tweaking, some with Percolate's help, but we got it working. So we're deployed to Apple, Android, and the web. We'll eventually deploy to Windows Phone.
Oh, really?
The app has a ton of, I think, interesting features. We have a video feature. Shows video education to the user. You know, innovative visualization for tracking your food, for your food intake. And we have integrations on the phone with barcode scanner, with wristband, pedometer wristband. And those turn out to be amazingly easy to do.
Nice. So the Cordova plugins enabled that? Yeah, just worked. Huh.
The barcode reader is, we were scratching our heads trying to figure out how we're going to do barcode reading. And we sat down and hunted around for the right Cordova package. When we found it, it's just one line of code.
Get barcode.
It's just, yeah, it's a scan. All of our cell phones have barcode readers kind of built in as part of the operating system. All they're doing is latching in that, and then you get a UPC symbol back, or UPC code back. There's a database, and there's a bunch of them around. We use one in St. Louis called Food Essentials, or Labelings, like they changed the name. We send that, I send that to them, and they send me back food information. It couldn't be easier.
That's awesome. What's the product called?
It's called Prana Diabetes. It's the name of the company. We don't really have a name for the product yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I don't have a sticker. I don't have one of those ones. But if you were to go to app.pranadiabetes.com, you can see that.
App.what diabetes?
Prana, Prana. Diabetes. DETS.com. It's not, yeah, we're currently calling it Stop Sugar, but that's, we've got in trouble. So. We're changing that name soon.
Very cool. So not only is it like education, but it's you guys are building the tools to help people achieve.
Yeah, there's 4 parts to it. The app is just one part. There's a wristband. There's educational videos, and then the last part, which is we're about to start, I think is the most challenging. We're gonna write a Meteor app to run inside of the something called Smart on Fire, which is it's an app runner package inside of medical EHR systems. Epic and Cerner are both they're big companies that build these electronic health record systems that hospitals use. So we use Meteor app for that as well.
They have tea over the very cool. Very cool. So do you know
Houston, we have a problem.
You must work in a really loud place.
Or sleep really heavily.
So, you know Crater.io, right?
Crater?
Yeah.
No.
It's like a board, it's like an info board for everything Meteor. So what
the hacker base for Meteor.
Yeah, so when you launch that product, throw it on there, and you'll get a bunch of people on there. Like, these guys launched Moon.co, and I was just interviewing these guys for our next podcast, and they're awesome. They're out of the UK, but they built this game.
Oh, I was playing that.
Yeah,
that's it.
And this is just like a hook for people to go on their site, right?
Yeah.
And so they threw it out on a couple different places, and like the Meteor community like latched on and like gave them so much traffic, and they were saying like the community was like so solid, and all the people that are interested in it, they're thinking about pivoting to like make it really instead of like a platform for art, for artists, for drawings. Yeah, just very interesting. The cool thing is like I wonder if you guys want to go on this. This is reactive. If you guys want to log in,
oh, we'd all be in the same place.
and I'll watch you. Like, see, there's someone right now. We'll watch them.
This dude's in.
And there we go. So these people are coming in real time. They are not using streams. on this. They're using Mongo, they're just regular upsell.
Oh, yeah.
And and they built this with Canvas, there's no. Yeah, very interesting. Anyway, you get all the details about it. We did a podcast for Meteor and Gaming, and we invited Void Alpha, the guys from there. They work with DARPA, and they built a bridge for Meteor and Unity gaming platform. And it was a really interesting podcast. From listening to those guys talk, especially the Void Alpha guys that have like a pretty strong presence in the gaming community. Like Meteor sounds like it's the back end that they like always wanted. Games. I definitely see like more in this community, more in gaming that really take off. Anyway, cool. Little
Thanks,
side thing,
Greg.
sorry, man, but yeah, throw your stuff on Creator.io when it's ready.
And Greg is one of the oldest attendees of the Meteor meetup. There was a time before World Meteor Day when it was he and I in a conference room. Like, is this ever going to be bigger than this? It is.
I still think it's like really in infancy right now.
It is. We're gonna have to we'll get the larger rooms of TechNexus as we fill up. Yeah.
Was there another guy over there that like shyly put his hand up?
Oh, Frank's not shy.
Oh, no, nothing to show.
Nothing to show. Oh, Ryan.
Ryan, what are you working on? How much of the Meteor Chef is
Meteor base?
yeah.
A shockingly low amount.
Oh, I don't want to go back to Creator.
So the whole site is just a static site, built on a platform called SiteLead. But the only thing running on Meteor right now, if you jump into the writing API post, under recipes, I've got an API through Meteor typing in the changelog. So if you click on the changelog tab, a little bit down, that's all being streamed directly from Meteor.
Okay.
So not a lot of stuff. A lot of great
Just-
people are.
Yeah, seriously, bro.
I just released a new version of this on Tuesday. But for anybody that's not familiar with the site, I basically do deep dive tutorials on how to implement features in your Meteor application. So not just like here's the API, but here's actually how you would take this and do something with it.
Incredibly deep dive, like very well appreciative in the community. And it's awesome that we have this guy in our group. So, yeah.
So there's going to be a lot more stuff coming out. I'm trying to not be a hippie anymore and write on a little more regular basis. I introduced Beyond the Recipes, which are the really monster posts, and started to do snippets and focusing more on some of the basic concepts of Meteor. So if you're just getting started and you're looking at something, what the hell is this? Go on there and check out that stuff, and also make requests. Or if anybody here has anything top of mind, like I have no idea what this is, I may be able to answer while we're here. At the very least, I'll add it to the list and write something about it. And if you got here late, free stickers. So throw them in.
Ryan, did you have design the site yourself?
Yeah.
So I need to talk to you about some things too.
He's an awesome designer.
I mean,
Right on. Cool.
Break, and then cold jam or something.
Yeah, what time are we at? Like, look, my screen's so small. I got rid of my phone.
Good cruising.
Yeah, what time are we at?
7:30.
7:30. All right. When do we want to wrap up?
Oh, I'll be here till 9 if people want to be here. So that's like an hour. If people want to like get out, their laptops and like kind of jam or just kind of talk to us a little bit about what you're doing, that would be great.
Yeah. So I guess we'll,
thanks for paying attention.
Yeah, we'll cut off the official part and now the unofficial after party.
All right, the camera stops rolling.
Right on.
Thank you, everybody.